Hi, I'm Tara, and welcome to Les Do Books. Email me at tara@thelesbianreview.com with any questions or comments, or come join the Facebook group, The Lesbian Review Book Club. I'm thrilled because I'm joined today by A.L. Brooks. She's the author of 4 books, and her most recent release, Up on the Roof, is out everywhere from Ilva Publishing. Angela's here today to talk about other people's books, though. Authors are readers too, so I'm asking her about what lesbian fiction she loves. Welcome, Angela.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So you have a theme that you want to talk about today. Can you share what that is?
I do have a theme. My theme for today is authors that I fangirl over. So not necessarily a particular book by those authors, although I will mention key books that I think are, important pieces of their work. But it's authors who I know I can rely on to consistently deliver quality stories, believable settings, books that I'd stay up late for to read just one more chapter before I go to sleep. And, hello, 4 hours later, I'm still reading. It's those books by those authors. And I have a half a dozen authors who just hit that for me every single time with every release.
As someone who is a notorious fangirl, I am 100% down for this episode.
Excellent.
So who's the first author that you want to talk about?
Okay, I'm going to start with a caveat that these are not in, this is my best one first, and, it's not any order, it's just, they're all equally gorgeous and fabulous. First on the list is Jay, who, for me, time and time again, delivers just beautifully crafted stories with characters that I just really get invested in, from page one. There's always two main women characters, and I always love both of them equally for different reasons, and they may be going on different journeys, but I just love how she gets that depth of story writing and character development in every book that she does. And I'm picking out 3 key ones because, she's written so many good books. It's like, how do you choose?
They're so different.
Yeah. Exactly. And the 3 that I'm talking about are all very different from each other. So there's Damage Control, Celebrity Romance. I know.
One of my very, very favorites.
Backwards to Oregon. Completely different again. Historical romance.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And her very latest, Just for Show, which I finished reading about a month ago and immediately went into probably my top 5 of her books. I was really impressed by that story. Fake romance. I know you love a fake romance. All 3 of those books, for me, had characters who went on significant journeys. And I don't mean physical journeys, although that was the case in Backwards to Oregon, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing for me in all of my books that I really love is the journey. It's that development that a character goes through from being at usually a pretty low point in their lives to figuring their way out of that. And they may do that through meeting someone and having a romance, or sometimes not. There doesn't have to be a romance, but for me, there has to be that, someone just achieving something for themselves or realizing something about themselves or becoming a better version of themselves and being so happy with that new version. And I think that's one of the key things that Jay does a lot in her books. And I think that's why I just sink into them so easily every time a new one's released.
She's so good.
Yeah.
And she's so consistently good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. I think it's 18 books now? Which is just, or is it more?
And she's also done paranormals, and I don't know what you would call her crime ones. Are they crime? I haven't read them.
Yeah, well, they are crime. Yeah, there's definitely yeah, there is. But yeah, that's the thing. She's tackled quite a few genres as well and has been equally successful in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
To that same level of quality. And, as a reader, I admire that and enjoy it. As a writer, I just take my hat off. I'm just in awe,
So if you had to only pick one of those to take with you to the desert island.
Oh, no, not the desert island question. Probably out of those 3, Damage Control.
Me too.
Yeah. I love Grace and Lauren. They make me so happy.
Yeah. Me too. Well, I think the thing that I love the most about celebrity romances was really there in that book because, you know, when it starts out, Grace doesn't really know that she's gay, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of that, it's like a twist on the coming out books because we don't really have that many coming out books anymore. And we kind of don't necessarily need them as much. But the twist that's on those is that the stakes are higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the stakes are much, much higher because it's like, is this person going to lose their career if they decide to be openly and authentically themselves?
Yeah.
And I think she did a fabulous job with exploring that in Damage Control.
I think she did. Because, I mean, all of us who come out, there's a risk every single time that you're going to lose friends, you're going to lose family, you might have trouble at work. But yeah, that has to be increased tenfold, 100-fold for someone who's so much in the public eye as the Grace Durand character is. You know, she's a top movie star. Yeah, and I think I love that whole process that she does. I love how slow it's done. I love how realistic it is. I love that Grace doesn't leap into this new sexuality, you know, in the first 5 minutes. It's a very slow realization and she's slow to act on it. And it means that when she does, that Lauren believes her and, you know, they're fully invested then, which is...
Oh, and then just Lauren.
Oh,
I just love her.
I know. I could just pick her up and put her in my pocket.
Mm-hmm. So, who's your next author?
I think this is another one that will please you. Probably please a lot of people. Ann McMan.
Yes!
Ann McMan writes, for me, kind of, certainly with the Jericho series, which is the series I want to talk about. I know that's not just one book, but, you know, they're all so wrapped up into each other, they count as one. There's such a depth in these books. Yes, there's romance going through it, and yes, there's families and drama, but everything is done with such authenticity and such depth of development of story and character. I mean, I cannot get over how many characters she wrote in Jericho alone. I mean, I lost count. I mean, there's like 15 key characters who are all developed so strongly in their own way throughout that book. And then you want to hear about all of them when you get to Aftermath. You want to hear about Edna Fremantle. You want to hear about Roma Jean. You want to hear about David and Michael. You know, you want to hear about all of them, not just Maddie and Sid. It's, you know, they're so...
I was just going to say, and then you want Celine on your side in a fight every time.
Yep, absolutely. God, I love that woman. Yeah. What I love about them as well is the humour of them is so rich and side-splitting in places. Even though I've read them half a dozen times, I'm still laughing at all the right places because it's such good humour. But the emotion as well. I mean, Goldenrod killed me.
Right?
Oh, I remember you and I messaging after I'd read it and I was like, tell me there's more.
I know. Well, as soon as I finished, I sent her a message and I was like, listen, this isn't the last book, is it? And also, we need to talk about what happens to Dorothy.
I know. Yeah. And that's the beauty of that. It's funny because you read some series by some authors and the series gets weaker as it goes on. And you start questioning why they're carrying on with the series. Jericho's series just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I just think with Goldenrod, she's in a whole nother realm now. It's just extraordinary writing.
I think something that she did that was absolutely brilliant that I don't know that I've ever seen anybody else do is that she actually changed the genre after the first book.
Yeah.
Because the first book was a romance and then it moves to more of like a general fiction or a literary fiction as of the second book. And that was exactly right. And there are still elements of romance. Like we still see Maddie and Sid's relationship develop. And then in the third book, we see Roma Jean getting, you know, her relationship. And it's so lovely.
I love that. Yeah.
But like it really does allow her to focus on other things so that by the time we get to Goldenrod and what she's doing with like interrogating the idea of family.
Yeah.
is just brilliant. And because she switched genres, it's given her the space to do that without having to spend a significant chunk of the book developing a romance from the beginning to end.
Yep. And I love that. And I go back to what I said earlier on. I don't necessarily need a romance in my books. Even in my FF fiction, I do not necessarily need a romance. I want to see development of characters. I want to see a story. I want to see something that sucks me in. And McMan does that with bells on.
I agree.
Yeah. I knew you would.
As a notorious Ann McMan fangirl, I agree with you.
Cool.
So who's your next author that you'd like to talk about?
My next one is KD Williamson.
Yeah. All right. This is just like a great day for Tara. You're just bringing up author after author that I love.
Listen, folks who are listening, this was not done deliberately, okay? This is not me sucking up to Tara, okay?
That's actually true. I did not get her list beforehand. And in fact, I didn't want to know because I just wanted to experience this. And this is so much fun. All right, KD Williamson.
Yeah. KD for me, and I mean, what's she up now? 4 books, I think she is, isn't she? The 3 lines and Pink. Yeah.
Yes.
What I love about her writing, and I've told her this so she can stop blushing. It's so real and so raw, and she holds nothing back in her writing. And when I don't want to read a traditional romance and I don't want to be in a soft and fluffy place, I will read KD Williamson because I want to be somewhere where it's honest and brutal and real and it's just, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I finished reading Pink 2 weeks ago for the first time, and I am going to have to reread that book about 8 times before I'm going to get even half the nuances in it, because Sean's journey in that book is extraordinary. And I know KD's had to go on the defense to say, I didn't write a romance to a lot of people, but it didn't need it.
I didn't think so either. And I think, unfortunately, that can be the problem of on the flip side of how I just said that I thought it was brilliant that Ann McMan did it. I also think it's brilliant that KD stepped outside of her genre, but I think because she did 3 romances in a row, unfortunately, there were a lot of fans who were thrown for a loop, even though from the very beginning, even when she was writing it, when she was writing blogs about it, and she was saying, this is not a romance, it's not a romance. And I think that goes back to the problem of people often thinking that lesfic is all romance.
Yeah.
And that's not true. And it's not fair because it boxes authors in. And I don't think it's fair to ding somebody who's written a superb book just because it's not the genre that you expected.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, I mean, this is a whole nother podcast on its own, but I think we are in danger of getting trapped in that everybody must write a romance way of thinking for lesfic. And if we're not careful, it'll implode because there will just be nothing but romances, and suddenly readers will be like, hang on a minute, I'm bored. What else is there? And there won't be anything else because...
I know.
Yeah.
I actually did a podcast about that with Lise MacTague maybe at the beginning of this year or the end of last year. And I think, unfortunately, also part of the problem is that romance is what's keeping the publishers open. I mean, it's quite similar to mainstream publishing as well, where romance is what's driving the publishing industry. But I think as readers, we also need to be discerning and actually read blurbs and pay attention to what authors are saying as they're marketing their own books.
Yeah.
Like, I think the onus is actually on the reader, because when the author has done everything they can to say, this is my book, it fits in this box, then you need to recognize that you didn't buy a book that was in a different box.
Yeah. It's really funny. I remember one of the very first reviews I got for The Club, which you've read.
Which I love.
Yeah, which I'm not fishing here, but it's like, it's erotica. It says right up front on the blurb, the cover, hello, it's erotica.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
First review I got was one of the first reviews was 2 stars, says, not what I expected. It's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we could have made it more obvious, you know. And as I agree, I think KD did exactly the same with all of her pre-marketing work and, like you say, in the blogs and everything. And I think it's a shame if people are bypassing Pink because they've seen this negative response to it not being a romance, because they're missing out on an absolutely incredible book. You know.
Well, and her character work is so deep in that book.
Everything Sean went through, I just felt like I was feeling it with every cell in my body. It was just, I mean, I literally read it in 2 days. I could not put it down. I was supposed to be working. I was reading in my lunch, break. The minute I got on the tube on the way home, I was opening it, and I nearly missed my stop one day on the way home because I was so engrossed. Fantastic writing. And that's the kind of book I want to see more of in our market, for sure.
I agree. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about her, or?
Oh, no, I could talk for half an hour just on KD alone. I mean, you know, she is one of my absolute favourite writers. I mean, the minute I hear she's writing something new, I am just so excited. Because I know what I'm going to get. I know it's going to challenge me, and I know it's just going to take me on such a ride.
I know. I can't wait for the next one. And I think it's is it the end of this year?
I think it's November, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
I know.
Okay. Who's your next author?
Okay. Next up, my first Brit on my list, Cari Hunter.
Who I have not read.
Oh, you need to remedy that. As Cari knows, I am one of her super fans. I only came to her books for the first time last year, and I've now gone through, I think, her entire back catalogue, and I've realised that she's now got a new one coming out. Well, I think it's actually out on pre-order right now as we speak, and I can't wait to read that as well. What I love about Cari's books is they're quintessentially British. That much is certain. You get very British humour in them, and obviously very British settings in most of her books. Some of the books are written in America, but some are in Britain. But what you get is such an awesome blend of a really gritty drama with that humour, and the humour is appropriate in all the right places. I've read dramas, and in particular I'm thinking about her Dark Peak series, which is the one that she's, I think, most known for. You know, there's some fairly awful crimes in these books, so you might find it hard for me to understand why I'm talking about the humour in the books, because, you know, they're crime dramas first and foremost. But I think that's what she plays so well in all of them, is that you're sucked into the drama, you're sucked into the crime, you're on the edge of your seat for this kind of stuff. And then a few scenes later, you're laughing your head off because of something the characters have done, and it's not inappropriate. It totally fits what's happening to them at that point in the story. It's not in the wrong place, and therefore you can laugh with them at that point. And that's an incredible talent to have, to put that level of humour in something that, you know, that strong, that dark. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so would you say it almost balances the darkness so that it's almost like a release valve, so that you kind of get away from the things that are difficult to read?
I'm not sure if that's been done deliberately. It possibly has, but certainly that's the effect it has. And it's very cleverly done. And again, spoilers to anybody who hasn't listened to them. There is a kind of romance in here, but it's not a traditional romance. And if you go looking to these books thinking that what you're going to get is a 50-50 mix of crime, drama and romance, no, that's not what's happening here. Yeah? There is an underlying subtle thread of a romance that runs through all three books between the two female characters. But again, that's something that I really appreciate it, because it allows me to enjoy the crime drama of it in its entirety, which you need to, because the crime is written so well. Really, literally page-turning stuff. And I just think that's a really clever blend to pull off. And anything she's going to write now, that's it. It's going straight to my to-buy list.
I've heard nothing but excellent things.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you should read her.
I've been told that I would hate them.
Really?
Because they're too dark. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not keen on violence, are you?
No.
Not that I'm keen, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But there's some, so like Erin, do you know Erin, one of the reviewers at the Lesbian Review?
I know of her, yeah.
So she's our thriller reviewer. And so she's quite sad because like she often likes books that I recommend, but I can't read the books that she recommends.
Yeah, actually, now that we've had that little bit of conversation, yeah. possibly you wouldn't like them. Yeah.
So, but like, truly, I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe someday I'll put my big girl pants on and figure it out.
Read them with the eyes shut.
Right?
Yeah.
Just listen. Yeah. Listen to Nicola Victoria Vincent.
Oh, now don't even get me started on the audio. Yeah. The audio's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I love her. But I've only listened to her reading Jenny Frame. So that might also be a bit odd for me because sometimes I associate narrators with particular authors. So like Christine Williams narrates all of Ann McMan's books.
Yes.
She also narrated, I think it's called The Art of Peeling an Orange by Victoria Avalon.
I haven't read that. It's on my list. Yeah.
And I tried listening to it and I kept getting confused because all I could think was, these characters shouldn't be behaving like this.
How funny.
So who's your next author?
My next author is the author who single-handedly introduced me to the world of shape-shifting novels that I would never have touched with a barge pole until I read 5 Moons Rising by Lise MacTague. I know.
A wonderful book.
I had no interest in reading. I mean, does that come under paranormal? I guess it does.
Yes.
Yeah. Was not on my list of genres that I thought I was remotely interested in. I was very, kind of a little scathing about, werewolves and people who change shapes and, creatures of the dark and all that kind of thing. And then everyone was talking about 5 Moons Rising and it was getting rave reviews and everyone was on Facebook talking about it. And I thought, okay, maybe I should give it a go. Oh my word. Could not put it down. I think I read it in a day. I mean, I literally started it on a Saturday morning and finished it in the afternoon and just sat there gazing off into space afterwards going, how have I not read anything like this before? It was just... And then I've read the On Deception's Edge trilogy by her as well. And in all books, her world building is just superb. I mean, I grew up in my late teens reading a lot of traditional fantasy. Stephen Donaldson, David Eddings, those kind of guys. Yeah. And I loved, I loved them, but as my sexuality became apparent, I was like, yeah, where's all the kind of female versions of these? Because it's always the men doing everything and, And of course, now there's a whole world of female-driven fantasy out there. Not necessarily lesbian, but, there's an awful lot out there, which is wonderful. And reading Lisa's books is just... it kind of ticks so many boxes because it gives me that whole kind of fantasy edge from when I was a teenager, but it gives me these kick-ass women that are just completely taking over the world. And I mean, Torrin and Jack in the trilogy were just, God, I love that couple so hard. But 5 Moons Rising just blew me away. The imagination, the storytelling, the world building. And what I loved about it was that I've read lots of fantasy books, sci-fi books, where the world building is everything and the story gets lost because the author is trying too hard to build the world. What I loved about MacTague's books is that you get that equal balance. You get to know enough about the world and how it works and how the politics work, what everybody's doing, but you also get the characters and the story, and it's a perfect blend for me of what I want a fantasy, paranormal, urban fantasy, whatever you call it, book to cover. So I've just seen promo from Lise this week about the new one that's coming out, and I'm so excited because it's steampunk.
I know. And for people who are listening to this, by the time the episode is out, you should be able to buy it anywhere. It's called The Demon in the Machine, steampunk, Victorian. It sounds like it's going to kick all of the ass. Yeah. Cannot wait to read that. Yeah. All right. So who is your next author?
My next author is someone I'm very honoured to call a friend, Andrea Bramhall, who has been kind of a mentor to me ever since I started writing. And I'm not putting her on my list because of that. I'm putting her on my list because she writes amazing books. But it's lovely to know her as well. That's kind of a nice little bonus. What I love about Andrea's writing is that I cannot believe what a variety of books she's written in so many different genres. that staggers me that she can, even more so than Jay has done in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, she's written action thrillers, she's written crime, she's written comedy, she's written murder mysteries, she's written romances. I mean, I don't know of any other author out there that I can think of off the top of my head that's written in that many different genres and has written, you know, bestsellers in every one of them. I just think that's extraordinary. I mean, that's a whole nother thought process. Again, you get great characters, you get great stories. You always get a lot of humour because Andrea herself is a very humorous person. If you spend any time chatting with her, you'll just end up laughing. The key book I want to pull out for her is Nightingale, which I don't think you've read.
No, I haven't read that one.
It's a hard-hitting book. It's not an easy story, but it is brilliantly told. What I love about it is it's multicultural elements. It features a Muslim woman who is trying to fight against her upbringing and wants to be the person that she knows she is inside, which is lesbian. And she wants to live with a woman. She wants to have a relationship with a woman. And yet her family are determined to push her into an arranged marriage. So it's it's a very difficult subject. And what happens to her, and I don't want to do spoilers here, is shocking and hard to read. But then as the story develops, you just get completely sucked in. And again, it's another one that you're going to sit up all night reading because the way Andrea constructs a story that leaves you literally turning each page wondering what the heck is going to happen next and hoping against hope it's not what you think is coming, but oh my god, yes it is. Oh no, I have to keep reading. It's just, I love books like that. And I think that it's one of the skills that she's got above all others that I'm in awe of. I just think it's wonderful. She did it with the Norfolk murder mysteries, but Nightingale for me is the standout book for Andrea Bramhall.
All right, that's pretty great. I think we have time for your other two if you want to.
Awesome. I was so hoping you'd say that. Because, I could talk about books for hours, so.
I believe you. So, who's your next author?
It's another one that's going to make you happy. It's Robin Alexander.
That does make me happy.
And it's fairly topical because I know that Sheena has just announced the next book club read, which might be coinciding roughly with when this gets broadcast, which is just Jorie, which is my all-time and is actually in my top 5 favourite books ever in lesfic world. What I love about Robin's books, every single one of them is so funny. I mean, just the humour that she brings into all of them is side-splitting in cases, sometimes bittersweet, but humour I think is what everyone would know that Robin writes best. But what I love most about her books is actually the side characters that she writes. I love the main characters, don't get me wrong, like in Just Jorie, I think the story of Jorie and Lena is wonderful, especially Lena's journey. But the sisters, the grandma and her sister in Just Jorie, just absolutely kill me. Jorie's dad is hilarious with his little stash of whatever it is he's got in the garage to keep
all his junk food.
Yeah. And I remember from Always Alex, I think it was...
Oh my God, the grandmother?
The grandmother in that one. She's just... She is outrageous. She's just...
Yeah.
But you kind of love her anyway, So that a lot of people in their books, they'll have side characters, but they really are just minor side characters. And that's fine. That fits their stories. Mm-hmm. But Alexander spends a lot of time building her side characters almost as much as her main characters. And you end up with such a richness in the book as a result. Because not only do you want to read about what the main characters are up to, but actually you really want to switch back to the front office of the auto shop to find out what the grandmother and the hideous aunt are banging on at each other about, because their interaction is just extraordinary.
I don't think you can read that book without laughing and smiling.
No.
And if you do, I I don't know, man. If you can't laugh at that book, I don't think you're going to laugh at anything.
I would agree with that. And it's interesting because, you know, often people are posting lesbian review group in Facebook saying, you know, I'm feeling down, I need something to cheer me up. And it's interesting how many of us will immediately nominate a Robin Alexander book, you know, as a great tonic to put a smile on your face, no matter what you're going through, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the other thing that helps too is that not only are they hilarious, but they have tremendous heart.
Yes.
Because there's, you know, there can be books that are very funny, but they tend to try to go more into the cerebral or the clever, which isn't necessarily going to be what's going to help you on that hard day that you're having. Whereas when there's a book that has as much heart as hers do, that just feels like a warm hug.
Yeah.
When you're reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So who is your last author?
My last author is Tracey Richardson, who I know you did a podcast with recently. Yeah.
I did. My fellow Canadian.
Indeed. Yeah. And my key book of hers is her most recent one, Heartsick, which I read a couple of months ago, I think it was now. What I've always liked about Tracey's writing is that I know when I open a book, I'm just going to get a lovely story. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, Side Order of Love has been one of my favourites for a while. By Mutual Consent, I thought was a fantastic fake marriage book. What I particularly loved about Heartsick, and I've noticed this in the last couple of books that she's written, for me anyway, I tried to describe this to my girlfriend and she read it and went, oh yeah, I get what you mean now. I read it and I called it a proper grown-up book. It's a romance, but the two characters have been through it. They've both had long-term relationships, come out not so good the other side of them. And it's not about their age, it's the fact that they've lived. They've been through that. Yep. They know what it's like to start a relationship again. They're going into it with that whole trepidation of, God, oh, am I really ready to let someone else in? Is this really what I want to do? I loved how mature that was. I loved how real it was. You know, for anybody who's been through a long relationship that then's broken up and then you're thinking about maybe getting out there again and meeting someone new. And it's like, Heartsick for me really covered that in such depth that I just found myself completely rooting for those characters. Like, yep, been there, honey. Come on, just, you can do this, you know, be brave. Do you know what I mean? And it just was like, yeah. And I say, to me, it was a proper grown-up romance. It wasn't fluffy, particularly. There were some, you know, there were some arguments in there. There were some hard moments. And I loved it because it was honest and real. And I think she's done that more in her last couple of books, and I've really picked up on that. For me, as a more mature woman, I like reading about people nearer my age and going through those kind of realities that I've been through. And as I say, I just feel like in the last couple of books, Richardson's really done that, and I've really appreciated it.
I haven't read that one yet.
Oh, okay.
I did read her last one before that, Delay of Game.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah, ice hockey one.
Yeah. And I think, which is funny because I'm probably going to get my Canadian card taken away for saying this. I'm not even actually a hockey fan.
Oh my word.
I know, right? I'm going to have to give up my citizenship. But I think she does a similar thing there too, where like they're both adults and it's a second chance romance.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, they had their, like, big, difficult breakup with each other. And then each went on to have different relationships. Yeah. One, I believe, was, like, married to someone else. And you're right. Like, I'm kind of the same. It's like, as I am rapidly approaching 40, I don't connect with 23-year-olds in books as much anymore. I'll still read them sometimes, but I appreciate reading about, you know, women who actually have lived.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So. Yeah, I agree. So there you have it. That's my list.
That's a really good list. I can co-sign that list and just like throw a couple extra on and then we're pretty much there.
Yeah. I mean, I could have, I spent some time thinking about it. Names got put on, names got taken off. It was, you know, there could have been another 10 names on that list easily.
That is fabulous. So, Angela, where can people find you online if they want to connect with you?
Oh, they can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, A.L. Brooks Writer. I have Twitter account. I am ALBrooksWriter1, and I am more active on Twitter than I am on Facebook, I'll be honest. And I have a website, albrookswriter.com, where I semi-regularly blog and put up news about what I'm up to. And you can get a couple of free stories there as well, if you wish.
That is all for this episode. Thank you so much, Angela, for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been such fun. I loved it. Thank you.
So, I'm Tara, and you've been listening to Les Do Books. Remember to email me at tara@thelesbianreview.com with your questions or comments. If you're an author who's interested in joining me on the show to talk about the lesfic you love or trends that have you interested, please let me know. If you've enjoyed this episode, please check out the show notes where you'll find a Patreon link for the Lesbian Talk Show. Our patrons get exclusive content like bonus podcasts that no one else gets access to. You can also join our Facebook group, the Lesbian Review Book Club, to talk about these books and anything else you're reading and loving. To find this and many other great shows, just search for the Lesbian Talk Show on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher.